Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. It's been a busy week. Lots happening. Haven't really been paying much attention to the market, so hopefully you can fill me in on that. But yeah, it's all good. And yourself?
Yeah, going good, mate. Going good. Super busy week. I can probably fill you in a little bit. All I know, and it gets very confusing, is because apparently we're in a bear market. We're in a massive downtrend, but there are two absolute rippers. One is Matic, and the other is Atom, going straight to space with the cosmonauts. It's confusing, but it is showing that there is still signs of life and signs of strength over there. So that's probably going to be a good place to kick today's show off, and then we'll get into the news. Look at that.
So tell us about your experience yesterday. I quite enjoyed what you said. Yeah.
So basically, like Matic, I sat on the sofa with Mum having a cup of tea, right? And all of a sudden, like, I had the Matic chart on, and it absolutely god candled, but the kind of god candle that you'd expect to just like, right, it's gonna go. When the next candle opens, I'm gonna open up a short, and it's gonna go down because that's a fake scam pump. That's like the institutions pumping, and they're gonna dump it. So at the top of the god candle, I thought, right, let me wait for it to open. It opened, it went up a little bit. It was like, right, bam, let me put a short in. Then the short started to come down. I was like, yeah, I'm right. Look at that. And then all of a sudden, the next candle opened, and then it was just like a bullish engulfing candle, and it absolutely flew. It was like, I literally closed my short as I saw that happening. And then all of a sudden, it's like I moved the market, obviously, when I closed that position.
Obviously, of course.
I obviously have the power to do that, ladies and gentlemen. I clicked like market sell or whatever, and then it just sorry, excuse the French, it just went whoosh. Whoosh.
Yeah. So, I mean, what is the reason why? I mean, is there a reason? Is there kind of like, or is it just doing its thing? I mean, we've seen it do this before, haven't we?
I think it's a mixture of it doing its thing, and I don't know if you remember, like a few weeks ago on the show, we were talking about all the basically how like Polygon's business development team were going into overdrive. So they're sorting out all the NFTs on Reddit. They were doing something with, I think it was Mercedes. You know, the fact that they just like skyrocketed to $1 really quick. So their team was just doing loads of like cool stuff. And I was definitely wrong to try and go against the trend because I saw a god candle. Because you can see here, and like now we're using the high Canarsie candles, you can see here that Matic is just up and away. It's going back to $1, 100%. I don't know when though.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting how you get, you know, these individual coins that do this kind of thing in this market. And I think what the real take home for me on this is, you know, take note of coins that are doing this a lot during the bear. Obviously, it's really difficult to time it, you know, and to get in if you're going to be running longs or that kind of thing. And I think the best thing that you can do, well, for me anyways, is to just take notes as to like who the strong outliers and the strong outliers are, and obviously the strong core coins are. And then, you know that when there is a proper uptrend that comes back, these are the ones that are going to run the hardest. And it might even be like, just thinking out loud now, that a strategy would be to perhaps even, you know, like where I see that like true value in dollar cost averaging is to dollar cost average on major dips on these, you know. So if you look at, you know, the time period from the 19th to the 29th of August, there were some great opportunities to obviously pick up some coins, you know, in that channel, especially if you are buying into the thesis that this thing will, you know, really rip later on when we do see a proper positive, you know, change in the market. So I think this would definitely be one of those, if that's, you know, the kind of thing that you're looking out for, without a doubt. And then obviously,
what you can see on the chart is like, now is probably or potentially a time that people might take profits, because you can see on those massive wicks at the bottom where the buy pressure was like poof, and it went up. And if you look at where we are now, that's going to be like a wicked area of resistance. I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, at some stage there, or if people let it run maybe to like $1, that this could be a place where people look to take.
Yeah, I mean, that does look like quite a strong area of resistance. I mean, it's probably in that band now. You know, it's sitting there now. I mean, it could also break this. I mean, it's not likely that it will. I mean, it's done at how many? Okay, let me just go to the daily. I tried to do it yesterday, and it didn't succeed, and then it went up again to do it now. Let's see how it does today. It'll be interesting to see if it breaks this. And then ATOM did the same thing pretty much. I mean, it's still doing the same thing, and it's almost like it's following a very similar trend to what MATIC is doing. I've obviously got it on the Heiken-Ashi candle, but if you look at the standard candles, it's very similar to what MATIC's done. Yeah, I mean, they look very
somebody somewhere knows something.
Yeah, I'm sure somebody, it's always the case. But yeah, I mean, it's really interesting to see how these guys are actually doing. Have there been any others that you've noticed during the week? I mean, I think Lido, did someone mention Lido during the week in Discord? I think I heard someone.
That was probably a mantra coin. Well,
yeah, it's doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Lido is very much, you know, it's almost like there's an argument that it's a bit of a leverage on ETH because there's all that staked ETH that's in there. And, you know, it's looking good. You know, it really is looking good. It's continuing to obviously deliver on the guys that are busy playing with it at the moment. I just want to take a look at ETH quickly. Your thoughts on ETH? Besides a little bit of disappointment, maybe a whole lot.
I don't know. Like, it wants to. If you look at some of the time, if you look at the, we're on the daily now. If you look at daily, and like, if you're looking at something like OBV or the RSI, you can see it wants to go. It is curling up and under to just skyrocket into the merge, which we have 4 days to go, ladies and gentlemen. But you can just see it wants to do something. Like it is crossed, and there is something. It wants to move. It wants to move. But I don't know if like the market makers are gonna bring it back down to that like 1250 mark so they can load up before it really flies. But
you don't think they've already done that there, or do you think it's kind of like this load up, sell kind of like?
Oh, so hard to say, man. I mean, if you look at the left half of that structure, you can see the right half is now starting to mimic it.
This one, yeah.
So if you go to so look, it's almost like shoulder, big head, shoulder.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we're gonna mimic that. It's like we need to break 1600, and that's it. Break 1600, reclaim the 20 EMA, and it's game time.
Yeah, it's strange how I mean, obviously, you know, Daddy Bitcoin gets to always say the last word, but it was, you know, in this territory where we were, you know, around here, when we hit this spot here. I mean, obviously it faked out there, but I mean, it was such a positive. This whole thing here was super positive. You know, it was really easy for us as market commentators to really like, well, it's the merge, guys. You know, it's the merge. That's why it's doing this. It's the merge. And to a huge extent, I think we were right. And then, you know, obviously Bitcoin decides to do its thing. And, you know, everything that might have been, and we've discussed this already on many occasions over the last few weeks, is that as soon as you get ahead of yourself and you say, well, maybe ETH's got its own thing going, Bitcoin kind of like just steps in and says, no, it's not how it works.
That's when you take profit. That's the very moment you take something off the table. When you feel good or you think it's just going to keep going up, you force yourself to take profit. That's the biggest lesson I've learned over the last like couple of months. Force yourself to take profit.
100%. I think that is, without a shadow of a doubt, probably the single most important lesson that you can learn in this game, is that you really need to put your greed aspect aside, and you need to focus on the business side of things. And that's, if you got good profit, take it. Don't look back, and protect your gains, and be disciplined about it, and be like completely and utterly obsessed about doing that. And you'll find that you'll be a lot happier, and you'll find that you'll be a lot more profitable. Obviously, I mean, it's like the saying is, no one went broke taking profits. Alrighty. Bitcoin looks like absolute shit, doesn't it?
Yeah, Bitcoin looks like it just doesn't know what to do. And all those Bitcoin maxes out there that used to send it flying like with 10% God candles, they either like need to come out from Goblin Town, or I don't know, they just need to step up and stop being such pussies, because their thing is dying. A slow death. It's bleeding.
Well, Dan, that's what I said. Yes, that's what I said yesterday. This is what's to blame.
Yeah.
You can blame Daddy Dollar. Actually, it's Granddaddy Dollar.
Granddaddy
you got
Dollar.
Daddy Bitcoin, and then you got Granddaddy Dollar.
The Dixie.
I mean, this is why. Why is everything doing what it's doing, besides MATIC and ATOM, of course? But it takes a lot
ignore
less
them.
Yeah, but it takes a lot less money to move those two. I mean, the reality of the situation is that nobody wants to be owning anything except dollars right now. Nobody wants Bitcoin. Nobody wants tech stocks. Nobody wants anything but this. They want the dollar. So we all know the dollar's going to zero, right? But everybody wants it.
It's going to zero, so let me buy more. More. Buy. That's what Jim Cramer would say. Hey, buy.
So what's really relevant about this chart, and I hope it loads because it's quite obviously, is that we are currently in the biggest highs since we've seen in 2002. So we've broken the all-time high of 2002, and we are now approaching 2001 July for the next all-time high. From this perspective, obviously the all-time high is 165 from the index perspective, which was in 1988. Yeah. So it's really interesting. I mean, I would never have looked at this kind of chart ever, like probably never, but obviously now it's dictating the markets from everything, from energy to tech stocks to everything. It really is setting the precedent.
We literally just need it now to start doing sideways movement. So you can see back in, I think it's 2014, 2015, you can see it had that massive like parabolic run. That's when the markets were like just doing shit. And then that like little zigzaggy part, that's when things started to take shape and actually like start moving. So that's what we want. We want it to slow down, have a pullback, and then just go like squiggly. Just sideways.
Well, you do want the sideways, you do want the crab on this, but I don't think we're going to see it. I think everyone is very much in absolute fear. It's definitely risk off and into dollars. This is what we will be seeing for a very long time to come. I don't know if you guys, Dan, yourself, watched the show that I do with Ben. Ben's got a very good perspective on, this kind of stuff. I mean, he's taught me a ton. I mean, I'm still clueless, but, the relevance of how it all, it's kind of like this ecosystem, right? Where, there's this movement of money across, different assets and different instruments. And depending on what the demand is, that's where the money goes. I mean, that's just fundamental markets, right? But it's really interesting to get insight into how the macro perspective is and how it's obviously affecting, the likes of crypto, the likes of tech stocks, and the likes of stuff that isn't deemed to be, that important in inverted commas, that That's kind of like the peripheral investment grade stuff. And yeah, I mean, this is what's happening. And Spen's got quite a bearish and quite a pessimistic outlook on what's coming from the Fed's perspective. And we'll have him back on next week. But he's basically, in summary, saying that, you know, the Fed's going to land up making things a whole lot more painful for the markets. Yeah. And in all likelihood, you know, the forecast for the Dixie particularly, you know, just as one of the indicators is that we will see numbers that are going to be a lot higher than it is right now.
Yeah.
Which obviously isn't good for crypto, and it's not good for tech, and it's not good for money.
I mean, bro, like last Friday, my boy JP, right? They've all gone to like this little like luxurious retreat down in J-Hole. Gonna have some beers, burgers, and banter, right? He couldn't be asked to talk for more than 8 minutes, right? 8 minutes cost the global economy over $1.25 trillion. Now, I didn't know how big a trillion was in zeros, right? It is 1 followed by 12 zeros. That is a big number, mate. In 8 minutes, just because he wanted to go and have beers and burgers, right? He crashed. I'm sorry, I'm pointing. Very rude. He crashed the market by over 1.25 trillion. That is huge, mate.
Yeah.
That is huge. Like, could you imagine being in that position where you're thinking, oh, shit, I just fucked up. I mean, mate, we've all fucked up, right? But he's gone like, oh, shit, what have I done? Oh, my God, what have I done? What have I done? Mate, his weekend must have been horrendous because that was ridiculous, dude.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
It is mad. And, like, you've got two – I was listening to one of the other traders who's talking like, you've always got the Dixie, but then you've also got the S&P. These are two charts that are heavily – like dictating movement in the markets. When I've sat down to just watch charts or whatever, I've had like an Ethereum and the S&P. As soon as the S&P starts moving one way, Ethereum moves exactly the same way. It's just like a 2 or 3 minute lag time. It's so interesting to see. And I think, I think today I'm hoping we end green. But if you look at the S&P chart, and this will be in the newsletter, hint, hint, wink, you've got a massive gap up and you've also got a massive gap down coming. So I think whatever today looks like. Oh, hello.
How do you visualize $1 trillion? I mean, I had to bring this up because, you know, look at the billion and the bottom left-hand corner of the trillion, just to give you perspective.
That's mental.
This is mental, isn't it? That's quite a beautiful image, this, actually.
That's mental. And I'm a tall bloke. But even I'd look small next to that.
This isn't about height, dude. It's about proportion of size.
That's insane, man.
So, I mean, there's your bill there, right? There's your billion there in the bottom corner, and that's your trill. It's a lot of money. And, yeah.
Christ almighty. Sometimes you just don't know what to say, do you? It's just speechless.
Yeah. Anyway, so I mean that's kind of our market summary at the moment. We're not getting too caught up in it. I think it's just important to, from our perspective, anyways. I don't know if you want to add to the market commentary, but from our perspective, it's more of the same. Obviously, I think there's obviously opportunity for the guys that are trading the chop and that are trading the you know, the subtle changes that are happening in the market. I mean, I think ATOM and MATIC really did illustrate that for us this morning. I think there's a few others. I'm sure there's guys out there that are making a bit of money, but the majority are obviously losing because that's just the nature of markets. What's happening in the news? Any last thoughts on the market itself?
No, but one indicator we always joke and laugh about is Mrs. Nancy Pelosi. Now, I don't know why we didn't see this coming, but she dumped a shed ton of NVIDIA after going to Taiwan, right? And then what comes out in the news day before yesterday? Well, America's stopping the shipping of chips, NVIDIA and AMD, over to China. Now, that's funny that she got out. moments before, like a week or so before this news dropped. Now, you got to start paying attention to what she's doing, because that's a great indicator of what is to come. Like I had one of my mates was like, "Oh, Dan, Nvidia's coming into a really good buy zone." I was like, "Be careful, because Pelosi's just dumped." Well, look what happened. You're on mute, dude.
Is that a case of the states? Isn't China the ones who make those chips, or is it the states that make those chips?
Well, I assume it's the states then. I'd have assumed before, wrongly, that it was China.
Anyways, I mean, but I'm not sure why you're surprised. You're the one who alerted me to this individual and what she does, and now you kind of having that moment. Did you fade yourself? Is that what's happening here?
I was like, I've got good advice. Damn, I faded my own shit. Oh, look at that.
Oh my goodness.
So,
obviously another big news item over this last week was, speaking of indicators, is obviously Jim Cramer. I mean, I know that you're becoming quite fond of him.
Oh, when I first got into trading, I would, every single day when I get back from work, I would put Jim Cramer's Mad Money on, and I absolutely loved it. I thought it was hilarious, because every 10 minutes, like, buy, sell. And then like people would like phone and say, "Oh, I'd like to talk to you about so-and-so." He's like, "Oh, great coin, good advice. Bye, thanks for tuning in. Next call. Shit coin, but still, buy. It's like, we've just bought that for the, what was it? The Jim Cramer investing club. But no, like, he's just a funny bloke. He's entertainment. He is entertainment. And I wouldn't be surprised if at some stages there are, subtle comments put in to sway certain decisions.
Isn't there a parody account on Twitter that's been counter trading him in terms of his calls and is now substantially up?
I think so. I think it's similar to the one that
the Nancy Pelosi one, but the Nancy Pelosi one's more about commentary, whereas this account is in fact trading the exact opposite of what Cramer is calling on the market. And apparently the guy or the girl who's running that account is actually substantially in the green.
Yeah, I'm going to assume it's this one, inverse Cramer.
Yes, that's the one. Yes,
I'm going to sub to the newsletter. The one of the pin tweet, Jim Cramer, August 5th. I am all in on Tesla and CEO Elon Musk. Elon Musk, August 5th, immediately sells 6.9 billion worth of stock.
Wow.
Okay.
There you go. Glad I can give you some tips on Twitter. But yeah, I mean, it's really interesting how there are those individuals who just get it consistently wrong. Anyways, so next topic, I'm just looking on this list of stuff that came through on the news feeds. Robinhood gets desperate and lists ADA. That's your little title, by the way.
Oh yeah. I just thought I'd like make a clickbait title for today. Robinhood gets desperate and enables Cardano trading for its 23 million users, of which nobody will buy.
It doesn't seem like the listing did much good for it.
No, because if you look at the article or even look at the token price, it is still going down. Yes.
It's going down. I mean, imagine having conviction around setting up a short with some big stop losses in place. Or should I say like big range stop losses, and you kind of like, you don't fade that. You kind of stay in there. And, Dude, I mean, it's
if you'd have shorted it $3 with conviction, you would never have needed a stop loss ever.
Yeah. I wonder if there are any traders out there that do still have shorts open from, just under $3. I'd love to put it out there. If anyone knows anyone, please let us know.
We'd love to interview you and ask you how you feel.
I'd love to actually interview. In fact, I'd like to to pay for a flight and a meal and maybe some dancing girls because you deserve it, bro. Yeah, I mean, what an interesting one this has been. But yeah, consistently, you know, obviously on the weekly just absolutely getting rinsed, you know. But it's been in a downtrend since September. You know, I think, you know what, Dan, I think it's just completely shooting from the hip now, you know, just something that I just noticed now. I haven't really thought about it before right this moment, is that isn't this just your ultimate indicator for where retail is at and where the bear market really was starting to show itself? I mean, look at it. It started going down from September of last year.
Yeah, I'd agree. Yeah, I'd agree. And you can, the more I've learned about charts over the last like 2 months, the more I've gone back and I've looked at them. And when you reach stuff like some of the big traders that are on Twitter, you can go back and you can actually see when things started to break down and what all the warning signs were. And you know, probably one of the biggest warning signs with ADA is all of the influencers that had bought it above, you know, let's say like $2, have always been shilling it, like ever since, like relentlessly. It's going to go up. It's going to go up. And they'll always make the TA look like it's going to go up, but it's not. Like
I did very well with ADA, sort of over its lifespan, just in terms of like relatively short-term trades, because it really is ADA and XRP are the two that will always give you true insight into where the retail market, or whether to what extent you have an influx of the retail market. It's always been that way. I mean, everyone who ever speaks to you about crypto is always going to bring up those two. You know, like any normie, it'll always be XRP and it'll always be Cardano. It'll never be anything else. I mean, obviously Bitcoin and Ethereum are there, but funny enough, they aren't the first ones. They aren't the gateway drugs, you know. This whole like gateway to crypto is through ADA and through XRP. And I just realized that right now is that, you know, the guys that were calling bear around here when we obviously had the May crash, you know, end of May we had the crash, you know, things got nasty, and then it kind of like started picking up again towards, you know, the end of the year, where November was kind of like that point where it was like things aren't looking good, and it's because we reached all-time high. But this was, you know, I've got a mate of mine who actually refers to XRP as the canary in the coal mine.
Is that the John big signal then?
Yeah, so when XRP does things, pay attention. That's his thing. You know, like if it starts going up, pay attention. If it starts going down, pay attention. And I think it's, you know, it's a lot more brutal, this chart, I think. But this chart is more along the lines of what Bitcoin's doing, I think.
There's a lot of hopium in that chart, because I bet you if you go back and like look through the news, every single one of like the pump and dumps was based around something that may be coming in the news.
Possibly. I mean, I don't know. I don't watch. This is not something that I spend particularly much time around. So, I mean, there's been opportunities to trade it. As you can see, I've got some lines in here. And I've done okay with it. I mean, they've been easy trades. You know, when you buy them at bottoms and then you sell them at tops, it's always easy. You know. Anyways, just going back to the new side of it, but I think it's interesting. You know, from an awareness perspective, just to see what certain coins are doing and using those as kind of indicators along the way. You know, I think it's the same as any like fundamental technical analysis, like which coins are your indicators as well. And for me, XRP and particularly ADA are those two. You know, like where's retail at, like the influx of retail? Well, look at those two, and there's a very good chance that those two will be pumping when retail starts coming back into the market.
The big question I want to know, is it going to be Shiba or is it going to be Doge that leads the next like normie bull run? That's what I'd want to. That's what I'm interested to see.
Well, we don't know, but we do know that there will be an upward trajectory and there will be liquidity coming back into the markets. And your guess is as good as anybody's, really. It just depends, I think, where the narrative is and what's happening at that point in time. Anyway, I think a really significant update on the news at the moment, which I think we need to just mention, is obviously an L2 that we really enjoy. I think you mentioned that Magic's actually doing quite well at the moment. I'm not going to go to the chart, but it looks like Magic, for you guys that are listening, looks like it's starting to find some momentum. So there's been an upgrade on Arbitrum, which is Nitro. And so it's a year after, obviously, Arbitrum was released. They've upgraded it. And I think it's all about scalability. I think Nitro is all about scalability and allowing for scalability. And it was an important upgrade according to the growth that this network has seen. And they've done it successfully and everything went fine, which is obviously great. Obviously for L2s and the future of L2s, it's nice to see that the guys are actually getting on with it. It's like, yeah, it's cool. Cool. Very good news. This. We've been working with a couple of projects on Arbitrum, and yeah, they were very impressed with the way that these guys actually managed this whole process.
Yeah, and what I think they've done really well is, I think when it does come to the bull run, this is going to appeal to normies quite well, just based on the name. The fact that it's Arbitrum Nitro, that has a lot of that's got a lot of marketability. So then people,
yeah, definitely.
And I think when you get all like the Reddit guys, because obviously Arbitrum Nova is being used by Reddit, once all those normies that are chilling in Reddit actually connect their Web3 wallets to it, I think that's going to be a chain that you'll see it coming, because we've obviously told you about it, but it will also come out of nowhere, where I think it will just fly.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally agree with you. Dan, do you have any kind of, I know that you were chatting about like all the forks, obviously the guys want to continue mining. So we've obviously got the merge. See, we can't stop talking about the merge, which the price would reflect that. But it's like we're going into a merge, and there's apparently quite a big movement around hard forking and continuing to mine. What's that all about, and what's happening on that side?
So the merge is interesting, right? Right now, miners are bringing 13,000 Ethereum a day into the supply, right? When it switches over to the validators, it's only going to be 1,600, so it's going to be less of a supplier. But then it's like, well, what do these miners do? Well, they can either switch over to become a validator, but it's not going to be as profitable for them, or they can go and look at mining other stuff. And what's quite cool is His Royal Excellency Justin Sun is a massive backer of it, and he's going to be selling or donating some of his stack of ETH to be converted into like ETH PAL, so ETH proof of work, so like tokens. So then that'll be the native token on the networks, and that can be something that can be mined by them. But I still do think there's going to be opportunities out there for miners. One thing I'm going to watch is like ETH Classic, because if more people are now moving over to ETH Classic, something's got to happen, right? Something has definitely got to happen there. Coinbase is getting behind the forks. Binance is getting behind the forks. But two big things that aren't getting behind the forks, and they've already explicitly said no, and we've covered this in the newsletter in the past, is first is Chainlink. They're not going to be supporting it. And the one that came out yesterday is OpenSea. So they won't be supporting forked NFTs.
So, but they are 99% down on their volumes, and by all intents and purposes, there might even be an argument that, with decentralized NFT marketplaces coming up, that OpenSea might not be relevant for that much longer. I wonder if that is a discussion worth having.
Potentially, especially after they laid off 20% of their workforce.
Yeah. Listen, they made bank, man. They did well over the bull run. But
Mate,
there's
they were
always
selling,
been,
right, they were selling pictures of Ethereum rocks for millions. A picture
yeah,
of a rock.
yeah, of which Your Excellency bought. Your Excellency Justin Sun bought, I think, a few of those. He
That's
has
insane.
them somewhere, unless he sold them. Okay, I think the last topic that I've got on this list here is one of my favorites, one of my favorite topics, and that's obviously Mt. Gox and the repayments of, all those coins that have been sitting for all this time. And, I don't think we actually haven't really discussed it that much at all. I mean, I think we have mentioned it along the way, but I think it really is a significant event when you've got 137,000 Bitcoins being introduced back into the market. And, a lot of people are like talking about it, stop creating FUD and the whole thing. And I don't think it's FUD. I think it's a reality that, have a huge influx of coins hitting the market. I mean, a lot of these people have 50x their money. But 50x is a 50x. You put $1,000 in and you've now got a $50,000 profit. Are you really not going to cash some of that in? I don't think it seems logical that people won't, and especially now where liquidity is such a prized and precious thing. Cash really is. We looked at the DXY a little while ago. Cash right now is king. And if you've made a 50x, what are you going to do? As much as I would love to live in a romantic reality where everyone holds onto their Bitcoin and they don't flood the market with Bitcoin, I don't see that happening.
No, but what's also interesting to read in the article, it says here, so indeed, the latest public document published on the platform's website on August 31st reveals the assignment restriction reference period. And this has been accepted by the court, and it starts on September 15th. Ironically,
okay.
almost right in the middle of when the merge should be switched over, and ends at an undefined period. Notably, this does not imply that payouts shall begin on September the 15th. So they can, in theory, start it from there and just like distribute it over an undefined amount of time, but they could, in theory, push it back. And if September is notoriously a bad month, it might be smart for them to just,
The thing is, though, I mean, I understand that there might be kind of like a little. I mean, I would imagine by the sounds of it that there's a little bit of brain power going into this whole process. They're obviously sensitive to, all of all of these coins coming back onto the market. At the same time, isn't it inevitable that they will be eventually on the market and they will eventually, for the most part, be sold? Is it better over an extended period of time? Probably is. I mean, almost certainly it would be. And that's what they're obviously planning to do right now.
Yeah. Because if they dumped that amount, I guess, big red candle down.
I mean, that all at once is, I mean, you could argue it could take it to like 12 grand,
Jesus Christ.
all those people who said they'd buy at 12 grand won't be buying at 12 grand.
Now I'd be hitting the Jim Cramer button, buy, and the bull's snug in the back. That's what I'd be doing.
Well, someone actually made a comment on Twitter the other day. It said that 20K is the new 6K from the past. And we might see a 12K, but it will be kind of the new 6K. And it seems like it could be very plausible from a technical analysis perspective. Obviously, it's not just a random number. I mean, it's definitely shown a huge propensity to stick around. It's a previous all-time high from 2017, or just under, and we're in that territory. It's like from a TA perspective, it really is the TA dream. Like in this range, 20K, previous all-time highs, previous support, now it's support. I mean, it's just a no-brainer. And I've been watching it. Like the only chart that I consistently watch is the Bitcoin and the Ethereum charts. I would keep a close eye on those two, and And what I've noticed is that Ethereum shown relative strength over the last 4 or 5 days. Like it really has, it went below 1500, went to 1600, and it's like it's doing fine, from that perspective. Not too ugly. Whereas Bitcoin just hasn't moved from the 20k mark. It's gone to 19.8, kind of like peaks into 19.7, and then it goes straight back up again. And that's what it's been doing. Which is great from a support level. Obviously, that's very important. But it just doesn't seem like it wants to go anywhere beyond that.
This is now reminding me of the time where people got very complacent and they got bored and they're saying, oh, the price action of Bitcoin's boring. And this is when we're in, I think, that like low 30s region. And then all of a sudden, out of literally nowhere, the biggest red dildo down just came out of nowhere. And then that got everybody's attention. So the fact that this is happening again, I'm hoping it means it goes up rather than down. But it's that, are we entering the boring phase of the market? That's another question.
The thing is, Dan, that as much as I am very much a bull at heart, I don't see a bullish narrative right now in light of, where this cash is all going. The cash wants to sit in dollars, and that's my very simple counter to a bull narrative. Is that it's not going to happen. There's just too much fear in the world right now. There's too much uncertainty, and Bitcoin has proven that it does not harbor safety from stormy seas. People prefer their money in dollars, and that for me is until my mind is changed otherwise. That's very simply my perspective on where the market is at the moment. So what we need to be doing is just continue making some more fiat currency so we can pay our bills, and then hopefully when the market turns, we'll have some extra dollars that we can reinvest.
Yeah, that's probably like the best bit of advice. Take profit, take dollars, and pay your bills, right?
Well, look at what Europe's about to encounter once again. Just kind of circling back to that chat that I had with Ben last week. We really are, like, priorities are going to be around energy, around survival, around just getting on with it, like it really is. That's where the majority of the population will be moving into. That way of thinking and that way of being. And energy prices, I mean, you're in the UK. Winter's coming, bro. And energy prices are going to be ridiculous. Ridiculous. I mean, those energy charts look like shit coins.
Yeah.
They're like the price of gas looks like, I don't know, it looks like Shiba.
Yeah.
When it went parabolic.
Yeah, indeed. You wouldn't believe, but like even yesterday, so me and mum were looking at like what's it called? They're like a radiator reflector, because our radiators are right next to the window. So when the heat comes out, it just disappears out the window because the windows are shit. So we've just literally gone and bought what do you call it? So those like reflectors to go behind it, so then it just constantly reflects the heat back in. And like you can probably see, like our ceilings are unnaturally high. They do not need to be that high at all. So it's it's going to take a lot to fill the room with heat.
Yeah, so inefficiency. And it's surprising because you guys are very familiar with cold climate. I mean, you must see our homes here. I mean, we are, our window panes are thin, dude. They are so thin, like heat, like might as well be an open window, So we have no idea about preserving heat from that level. Whereas Europe, I would have expected the UK to have been obviously better off from that perspective, but clearly that isn't the case.
No, of course not.
Cool. Anything else? Are we done? Have we reached the end of today's banter?
Yeah, I think we have come to a conclusion. I think we have given a lot of good and useful information that people can hopefully go and make a lot of money on, or not lose a lot of money.
Yeah, I think right now it comes down to what a lot of the guys who know their story in the space have been saying is preserve your capital and wait for the right time. It's all about being patient right now. That's what it's all about. Just keep it tidy. you're not going to make it all in one trade. And if you do, then you know that you're gambling and that you got really lucky.
Yeah. So then take it all out.
Yeah, you know. And yeah, please, guys, if you can just like and subscribe, we obviously do very much appreciate it. It makes a big difference to what it is that we're doing. And don't forget to sub to our newsletter, and yeah, hit the subscribe button for what we're doing here. And yeah, thanks for joining us. Appreciate your time, and we appreciate you.
Thanks for your time. Happy Friday. Good weekend.